The establishment are getting desperate as the public are waking up to their hypocrisy over the lockdown rules.
The PM has been crystal clear in relation to any circumstances, events in Downing Street that the rules were complied with, and the police have been very clear. They'll look at any letter, but they don't normally look back and investigate things that have taken place a year ago. I don't think.
Right, really, Dominic Raab? Really? This is about the alleged Christmas party that was held at Downing Street during the last lockdown. Now, this is the same government and group of politicians from, again, people like Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, who said that they are following the science that SAGE are giving them. And that's why we had to protect the NHS for 3 weeks. We all had to stay at home. And in order to stay at home, they used the police, they used drones to name and shame the public who were just walking around in isolated areas. They told people you can't just sit down in a park with a cup of coffee, so you need to keep walking and walking like robots. And everything else that they've done, regardless of you losing your job or mental health cases going up or everything else and cancer patients losing their appointments, doesn't really matter apparently. You just had to follow it. Except for the fact that some of the politicians themselves broke the rules, and some of them tried to cover it up, from the SNP government, Nicola Sturgeon, to Dominic Cummings, and now this alleged Christmas party. This is quite fascinating. They are using Dominic Raab now as a punching bag. He's the new Matt Hancock, to go on TV and say things that he's going to regret in a few months. So he says that the police are not really they don't really investigate cold cases or historic cases. Firstly, that's only a few months ago. Secondly, that's not normal practice. If that were the case, what would have happened with this guy, Jimmy? What would have happened with, again, Harris's and all the other cases that we had to deal with historically? What about right now that the police are still looking into a lot of cold cases, a lot of historic cases and recent cases that have still not been completely closed? And if that were the case, then you would not really realize how the police are actually operating their missions, because if anyone's seen Line of Duty, you know that that's not how it works. There are people on Twitter kicking off. Sue says that presumably all cold case units are being closed now. If that's the case, then the whole department should just go down. This is not even that historic. This is only a few months ago. Why not look into it? Unless Downing Street has basically told the Met to not look into it, which is a big problem. I don't think that's the case, because that will be a big allegation against Downing Street. I don't think that's the case, because I know sometimes they try to cover up things, but they're not that competent to do something like this. They're not really puppet masters. But nevertheless, that's the reality that we're dealing with, and Dominic Raab is basically going on TV and essentially lying to the public, because they're trying to make sure that they don't get too exposed. Right now, the public are very, very skeptical towards new measures, and you've seen the new YouGov polls that for once the majority of the public are against these new mini lockdown measures and trying to shut down businesses and pubs and restaurants. So we'll see how Christmas goes. And now apparently we're hearing that Boris Johnson, under pressure, he might not cancel Christmas. We'll judge him very, very soon. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to actually click on the bell next to subscribe. If you subscribe, click on a bell. That's the best way you get notified when I release my next video. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.